Nintendo, 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 Nintendo. What Nintendo game shall I play today? It's like Pokemon, Pikmin, Minecraft, Metroid Prime. Oh, I already played through this game, but I don't know. I'm in a DK mood after Bonanza. Tropical Freeze. Alright, I'm gonna go play it. DK. Donkey Kong. Wait a minute. Thank God, no bananas.
Yo, what's up?
Hey man, I was just wondering if you were going to see the new Silent Hill movie.
There's a new Silent Hill movie?
Yeah, it's supposed to be shit.
Come on, Silent Hill's been getting a better rap recently. It can't be worse than something like Borderlands, can it?
It'll make you rather play Lord of the Rings Gollum.
Dude, I'd rather play a Cocomelon game than play that again.
What the? What? Uh-oh. I think I may have accidentally given Disney an idea for Frozen 3. Yep. Hey, they might credit me for it. Ching! Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew. It's me once again, and it's finally time. We've already talked about my Blu-ray collection. We've already talked about my PlayStation games collection. Now we're moving on to my Nintendo games collection. And with the release of the new Super Mario Galaxy movie trailer, the second one, I figure now is probably the perfect time to, continue on with my collection series with my Nintendo games collection. Given how I just caused a massive snowstorm, I might as well just, stay in and chill and talk about, the games that I own for the NES, SNES, N64, all the way up to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I don't have, every single Nintendo game ever made, and I don't even have all the games for specific consoles. I don't have any Nintendo DS games or Game Boy Advance games. I did, just not a whole lot. So if I were to talk about them, there would just be one or two games because I haven't used my Nintendo DS in years. And if I was to play a Nintendo DS game, I would just use it with the backwards compatibility of the Nintendo 3DS. But anyways, we're going to be going over my physical games as well as my digital games, though my Wii U doesn't work anymore, so I can't go to the Wii U downloaded games that I have for that system. But hey, nonetheless, we're going to be getting into the game, beginning with the one that started it all, the NES. I got all the retro games in a bin right here with a bunch of Xbox games as well as VHSs that I never used, but yeah. The reason why I don't collect a whole lot of retro games is because it's a lot more expensive, and I have been using my money towards newer games. That way I can do top 10 best games lists, but plus, a lot of these, almost all these games I'm about to show off, you can play on the NSO Nintendo Entertainment System. The online thing, for NES, SNES, N64, Gamecube, all those ones. So that's why my library is very small. But yeah. The most out of these is going to be the N64 games in terms of the retro games, but yeah. Also, I do have one Game Boy game right here. And, Tetris. And yeah, that's it. But anyways, these aren't specifically alphabetized. These are all at random. We are going to start with the NES games, though, so let's get into that. with Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Probably the hardest Zelda game ever made, but I was able to beat it on the Nintendo Switch Online thing. But yeah, despite its difficulty and the fact that it's far more different than any other Zelda game, it's actually not a bad game in my opinion. Yes, it's challenging, but I do like the fact that it went for a little bit more of a different style rather than it just being another like Zelda 1.5 or something like that. But of course, things didn't change fully until Link to the Past, but still, nonetheless, it's not the best Zelda game ever made. It is one of the weaker entries, but in my opinion, not a bad game. Over here, we got a triple pack, which includes Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet. I tried playing Duck Hunt, but my NES Zapper did not work, and it's really hard to get an NES Zapper to work nowadays. But nonetheless, what can you say? Classic games. I never played World Class Track Meet. I'm not sure if you need like a peripheral, just like you do with Duck Hunt, but whatever. It's a nice addition. Tetris again. I don't really need to say anything because it's Tetris. Not more to that. But hey, it's still one of the very best games ever made. One of the most addictive. The game that defined the NES overall, Super Mario Bros. 3, which started off as a commercial from the movie The Wizard, which I haven't seen actually, but I do know about its infamy for that. But of course, the game definitely managed to live up to the hype and pretty much the definitive NES game overall, because after two versions of Mario 2, one being extremely difficult and one just being a reskin of another game, Mario didn't fully come back until this game came along. If it weren't for this game, we would not have, Mario overall with the amount of games that he has managed to bring in over the years. We really have this game to thank. It's always going to remain a classic. It's still challenging from time to time, but hey, it's still a masterpiece nonetheless, and truly one of the best Mario games and games ever made. Alright, so that is it for NES. Sorry to disappoint with how little there is of that, but yeah. Tetris 2. I never actually played this, but I assume it's just, another version of Tetris. Okay, over here we got, okay, no, not that one. If I'm missing a few games, it's probably because they're probably either at my mom's house, because I don't have my Xbox 360 with me. But yeah, anyways, okay. Mortal Kombat. Probably not the best way to play Mortal Kombat at home. They did just release the Mortal Kombat collection for every major platform, but this control's okay, but the biggest thing that ruins it is the lack of blood. Like the fact that, they had to replace the blood with gray stuff. It's supposed to be sweat or something, but hey, it's the Genesis version, yeah, it's definitely better than this version, but I don't know, there have been worse ports out there. And over here, we got Terminator for SNES. Yeah, I couldn't even get past the first level, so I really don't have a whole lot to say, but the first level, it just goes on and on and on and on and on, and you can't, really shoot in all directions, making it a lot more difficult, so did anybody actually beat this? And I don't mean like in emulators or anything like that. I mean, did anybody actually beat the original version of this? Because it is practically impossible. But I don't know. It's fun for like a few minutes. But yeah, after that, there really isn't a whole reason to go back to this one. Okay, I know I had a copy of Super Mario World because that's like the last SNES game I have in here. Is this it? No, it's Tetris 2 again. Yeah, I had Super Mario World, which is my favorite Mario game, but I guess, I don't know, it's somewhere in here, but, I guess we're gonna move on to the N64 games. If I do manage to find it, I will bring it up, but, yeah, I should have every single N64 game that I own in here, so let's just get to that, and, yeah. Actually, there are a few Atari games in here, but this isn't about Atari. Alright. Oh, wait. What do you know? Here's Super Mario World. Super Mario World. My favorite Mario game. Yeah. So, now we can move on. First off, we're starting off with South Park for the N64. one of the weirdest first-person shooters you can play. Like, yeah, in hindsight, it is a bad game, but I don't know. Is there are worse South Park games out there. But in terms of, the era that South Park was starting to get video games, this was in an era where, they just released so many ridiculous games that it just came off as, I don't know, it's just, I really don't know. It's a weird game. Next up, we have Diddy Kong Racing. Now, some of these I actually haven't played before, like Diddy Kong Racing. I heard it's supposed to be one of the more challenging racing games, but in terms of this compared with Mario 64, there's actually a lot more content. So I'm just hoping that, Rare decides to, put this on the N64 emulator, because that's probably the best way I can play these games right now. With save stating and all that, not having to, go back in certain areas, because sometimes that's probably the best way I'm going to get the experience in modern time. But one of these days, I do want to give it a shot. Over here, we got one of the best games for the console, Banjo-Kazooie. If you never got around to playing this is on the N64 Online pack. It's also available on the Rare Replay pack for Xbox One. But still, either way, Banjo-Kazooie, it's a classic game. I 100%ed this game, and it's truly one of the most charming little platformers you can play. One of the definitive collectathons. And over here we got Mario Kart 64, which you also can play on the N64 Online thing. But I really shouldn't bring that up. Just pretend that, it's 1996 and you could only play these games on N64. But what can I say? Mario Kart 64 pretty much revolutionized kart racing games as a whole. After the original Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart. Mario Party 2, I actually never got into the Mario Party series. I guess I'm more into just, single-player games and all that. I mean, you can play this game alone, but I don't know. It's just, I'm not really a party game type of guy, but I do enjoy a lot of Mario spin-off games, and this is supposed to be one of the very best, so one of these days, I might want to give it a shot if I feel like it. Super Smash Brothers, the one that started it all. Compared to the other ones, this is probably the weakest entry out of all of them. But that doesn't make it a bad game, because you gotta respect the fact that this is what, revolutionized the franchise, what brought the franchise to life. And sure, the games got meatier and meatier and meatier with the amount of content they managed to bring in. Super Smash Bros. Brawl having its first full single-player adventure mode, and it just managed to, do so much. And this is the only N64 game that Samus was in, as she went continue on with her franchise until the Gamecube. But hey, it was totally worth it. Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, one of my favorite Kirby games. It's one of the more easier N64 games to get into. I never actually beat it, but hey, compared to a lot of other Kirby games, this game can be freaky at times. And I wouldn't necessarily say this is the game that fully jumped to 3D, as it has more of a 2.5D style compared to, other jumps to 3D on the N64. Like, I don't think this got the full 3D treatment until, I could be wrong, because there are other Kirby games I haven't played, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land. But hey, Kirby and the Crystal Shards, it's still definitely worth a playthrough. Turok 2, Seed of Evil. I never actually played this one or the first Turok, but they are on modern consoles. But, yeah, Turok 2. I do want to play, I do want to get into them one of these days. Yes. I reviewed this game on my channel about 4 years ago, Conker's Bad Fur Day. The last of the N64 games, and what a great one to end off on. Sure, it might not have been a financial hit, because, again, this is a very mature themed game, full of raunchy humor, sex jokes, drinking, and all of that, but that's what brings it its charm. Originally, it was supposed to be like another kid-friendly platformer like Banjo-Kazooie, but because Rare thought that would be way too similar, they just decided to do the exact opposite and make this exclusively for adults. Sure, they censor out the F-bombs. Sure, they do censor out a lot of the, sexual things that go on in the game. But what brings it its charm is the amount of references that they managed to bring in while also adding in its raunchy humor. Like, it's not as heavy on collecting things as Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. As the main thing you really collect is money, and that's pretty much it. But Nonetheless, this is one of my favorite games for the system. You can also play this, like, if you were to play this on modern time, you might as well just play it on the Xbox One Rare Replay Pack. Because don't count on this going on the N64 online thing, because again, they want to keep it as kid-friendly as possible. But yeah, it's probably your best way to, because this is actually a very pricey game. It actually cost like $90 when I got this, or $100. My mom actually got it for me when I was starting to get into gaming. But hey, it's a classic game. I was able to beat it, so yeah, it's stressful at times, but it's still a great game. And then down here we got Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. I only played the beginning of the game for about 5 minutes and didn't know what I was doing. You do ride in like the star battle scene, recreating that, you know, from the opening of Empire Strikes Back, which is really cool, but it was hard for me to know exactly what I was supposed to do. But hey, for a Star Wars game, it's passable. Yes, you cannot have an N64 without this masterpiece, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This is the game that I started off with when I played games for the N64. Like, this game just truly revolutionized adventure games as a whole and the Zelda franchise formula into a new 3D direction, and it would just get better and better. Though, I still think this is the best Zelda game in my opinion, but hey, nonetheless, it's one of my all-time favorites, and some people may be tired of talking about it. Some people may call it overrated. I still call it a work of art. It's phenomenal. You need to play it at least once in your life. And then over here, we have Banjo-Tooie. I actually haven't played this one, but after beating Banjo-Kazooie one of these days, I definitely should. Then we have Toy Story 2, the video game. Apparently, this was rented at a Blockbuster. Rest in peace, Blockbuster. But I heard this is actually supposed to be one of the better Toy Story games. And surprisingly, you can actually play this on modern console, on PlayStation 5 to be exact. So yeah, that's surprising. So why can't we get more licensed games for PlayStation, like, in this day and age? Like, why can't we get Simpsons Hit and Run? Why can't we get, like, the SpongeBob movie game or any of those games? I mean, especially since this is a Disney property. A Disney game. Just, and you know how Disney is a lot of the time. But, whatever. I'll give it a shot one of these days. Micro Machines 64. Never played it, so don't need to talk about it. Donkey Kong 64. Why is this game not on Nintendo Switch Online? As far as I'm aware of, it's not. Maybe it's because the game is extremely massive. Like, oh man, if you thought games like Banjo-Kazooie were full of collectibles, just play this. Some people actually went back to this game and found collectibles that they weren't even able to find before. But this is the perfect example of games overflowing with single-player content. Like, in terms of, you know, the multiple Kongs you can play as, it was truly, like, ahead of its time. I never got around to playing it, but I do want to play it. Like, yeah, but if you love this game, I highly recommend Donkey Kong Bonanza if you do have a Nintendo Switch 2, or you are planning to get one. Just saying. Army Men, Sarge's Heroes. Also, never played this, so don't really have anything to say. Combat again. Another game you definitely need for your N64 is Majora's Mask. This came out 2 years after Ocarina of Time and only took a year to make. So yeah, the fact that it only took a year to make this game while modern games have been in development for so long, taking so much time in the oven, and sometimes they don't always manage to live up to the hype, like especially with GTA 6 taking so long, nobody will be surprised that game just keeps getting delayed and it ends up never coming out. But I don't know, but this is a perfect example on how you take your time with your game. The fact that you only have a year to make, but add so much effort and not making it just, you know, a sequel to Ocarina of Time, which it pretty much is, but it does things so much differently. And sure, it's challenging when it comes to its mechanics, which does kind of ruin the gameplay just a little bit, but the story and the characters, that's really what made this game work. And it's the thing that people always remember from games like this. And hey, it's still one of the very best Zelda games. Some people call it the all-time greatest Zelda game. I call it one of the very best. I don't love it as much as something like Ocarina of Time or even Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Some people might get pissed off that I'm saying that because some people think those games are overrated. But I don't know, maybe it's just because of how stressful the game can be. I mean, I was able to beat it, but nonetheless, it's still amazing. You definitely need to play it. Yeah, let's see. We got a few more N64 games. Ooh, hell yeah. GoldenEye 007. One of the best movie license games, or in fact, it is the best movie license game ever made. Now, you have two options to play this game on modern hardware. There is the Nintendo Switch Online thing. Yeah, a licensed game. They actually put a licensed game on the Nintendo Switch Online pack. Why can't they do that with more games? Do that with Toy Story. But yeah, you can play it on that, or you can play it on Xbox Series X. I played it on Xbox Series X, and yeah, it's actually not a bad addition. So you got your options in modern time, but still, this was the game to play if you had friends over. Sure, the single-player campaign was a lot of fun, but the multiplayer, this was before Call of Duty, before Halo, before Battlefield and all those games, before microtransactions. Sure, looking at it today, it's definitely nothing too special, but it was still super fun. It's still an incredible game. And sure, the graphics are dated, the AI is pretty stupid. It's like, some parts of the game can be frustrating from time to time, but it's still a wonderful game. Oh yes, speaking of games that you cannot have an N64 without, Super Mario 64. Do I really need to say anything? It's the first Mario game I was ever able to beat, and it's still a fantastic game. In terms of, 3D Mario games to come out after this, I do think they managed to do things a little bit better, but you gotta respect the fact that this was the game to revolutionize 3D platforming as a whole, and there were so many other games that tried, copying, its style in terms of what it manages to bring in terms of its gameplay, but still, nonetheless, this is a work of art. You need to play it. Yeah. Mario Tennis. I'm not really much of a sports guy, but I heard Mario Tennis was actually supposed to be pretty fun. Mario had so many sports games that a lot of people consider to be a lot of fun, so I don't know, maybe. Also, you notice that I got these on here is because when I had them on the shelf, I needed some labels, so I just made my own labels instead of just paying online to make them. I know that's cheap, but yeah. Perfect Dark, another one of the best first-person shooters on the N64. In fact, this is a successor to GoldenEye. But yeah, fantastic game. It's a shame that reboot or whatever had to get canceled. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen that. Duke Nukem 0 Hour. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be N64 version of Duke Nukem 3D, but I don't know. Somebody can let me know in the comments if you played it. Yeah. Oh, never mind. It isn't. Duke Nukem 64. This is pretty much like, the N64 version of Duke Nukem 3D. So, yeah. Oh, another South Park game. South Park Chef's Love Shack. Never actually played this one, but it's pretty much just like a freaking trivia game. Never actually played it, but, yeah. Okay, moving on to Jet Force Gemini, one of the more difficult games for the N64, also property of Blockbuster Video. Yeah, oftentimes this game can be super unfair. In fact, I only made past the first level and didn't go back to it, but hey, the controls take some time to get used to, but hey, on the Rare Replay pack, it's definitely a little bit more easier. So, yeah, it's playable, depending on how you're able to play it. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. This is also supposed to be quite challenging, especially since, it's supposed to be one of the most difficult racing games ever made, up there with F-Zero. But yeah, N64 had a lot of Star Wars games, so yeah. And I think this is the last one. Is this the last one? Yeah, this is the last one. Star Fox 64. Don't know what else to say. It's the most iconic Star Fox game. Alright, and we are going to move on to GameCube. I also don't have a whole lot of GameCube games, so do not be surprised that there won't be a whole lot of GameCube games. And then we're going to move on to the Wii, then the 3DS, then the Wii U, and the Switch, and the Switch 2.
Okay, actually, I did find two more N64 games that I have that I didn't show off. Rayman 2, Great Escape, and Pokemon Stadium. Oh yeah, and apparently I did have a DS game. This is the only one I could find. Cars Mayor National. Yeah. Is the game even still in here? Yes, it is. But anyways, yeah, now we're moving on.
Alright, now we're moving on to GameCube, Wii, and Wii U games. We're starting off with GameCube again. These are all the GameCube games I have. Like, again, I'm not, like, super big into retro game collecting, especially since retro gaming has gotten so much more expensive now. But some of these you can play on the Switch, so it's not really going to matter a whole lot. But, yeah, we are going to be starting off with, again, these aren't in alphabetical order. Usually I like to keep my things in alphabetical order, but because I haven't used these in a really long time, yeah, but whatever. Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. I actually haven't played Metroid Prime 2 or Metroid Prime 3. I'm waiting to see if they'll release them on the Nintendo Switch or Switch 2, since, you know, this is on Nintendo Switch and 4 just came out, so I'm hoping maybe one of these days they can consider like doing a compilation of 2 and 3. Or maybe add 2 for the GameCube emulator and release. But look, you can play all the Luigi's Mansion games on the Switch. You can play all the Pikmin games on the Switch. You can play both Mario Galaxy games on the Switch. So there's plenty of room. But yeah, with Metroid Prime 1, it is one of the best games, like, period. It's still my favorite Metroid game. The fact that, you know, it didn't take till the GameCube for Samus to jump to 3D, and somehow or another, it managed to work as both a first-person shooter and a 3D platformer with some of the best boss battles in any 3D platformer, and some of the most creative and unique level designs ever put in a 3D first-person shooter game. But it really managed to pay off. Second game I heard was really good as well. All of them are supposed to be really good. I heard this one's a lot more challenging, no, this one I heard was a lot more challenging. So, yeah, a few of these games I never even played before. XG3 Extreme Racing, or I don't know, it's very dirty, but yeah, I never played this, so I don't have anything to say. I'm not sure if it's good or not. Then again, it's made by Acclaim, and they haven't, I don't know, but whatever. Resident Evil Remake. The first time Resident Evil ever jumped to the GameCube before the masterpiece that was Resident Evil 4. But yeah, this was a perfect breath of fresh air for the franchise, because the original version of Resident Evil 1 was good, but compared to, you know, this, yeah, it made the original just look super cheesy. And this one has a far more serious vibe. The controls were a lot easier to get into, especially with the remaster that came out in 2012 or whatever. But yeah, you can play this game anywhere now, and it's truly one of the definitive Resident Evil games. And the remakes would just get better, except for Resident Evil 3. But hey, that wasn't a bad remake. It was, yeah. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. Now, I wanted to play this game, but when I put it in my GameCube, it just would not work. It was covered in scratches. And worst of all, I got another copy of the game, and it did the exact same thing. So I don't know if it's something up with my GameCube, because I haven't gotten that with any other game. But I don't know. I'm just hoping that they put it for the GameCube emulator. Probably not, because it's M-rated, but because this is often a forgotten title, a very well-received game, but oftentimes this game just gets forgotten just due to the fact that, you know, it did poor in sales, unfortunately. So we never got a sequel or anything like that, but one of these days, I hope to God we get a port of this, because I feel like every single older game needs to get a modern port, because sometimes people can't afford retro media, and sometimes retro media can be hard to get into, especially with how strict things were back then. But hey, I've heard so many amazing things about this game, so one of these days I do want to try getting a chance, even if I have to emulate the game or something. So you definitely can't have a GameCube without this Super Smash Bros. Melee. This truly, you know, brought the franchise to what it was, or what it is, because man, they added in so much more new features, so many characters, and it's pretty much what popularized the franchise as a whole, and became the best-selling game for the GameCube, as far as I'm aware of. But yeah, this game is just so much fun. Like, the franchise would just continue to bring in more to the franchise with Brawl and to the 3DS, to the Wii U, and of course Smash Brothers Ultimate. But you can't go wrong with Smash Ultimate. But Star Fox Assault. Also never played it. I heard the GameCube Star Fox games aren't really anything special, especially Star Fox Adventure. And Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I heard there was a port of this to modern hardware that just sucked ass, but hey, I still have this version, and apparently this is a multiplayer game. So that's interesting. Alright, over here is last, but certainly not least, in fact, probably best in my opinion, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. There was a time where everybody thought this game was going to be trash just due to how the game looked. A cel-shaded art style, a much more younger, more cartoony version of Link, but oh man, this game was a lot more than just another kiddie game. It still had the same charm and playstyle as any other Zelda game, just told in a much more cartoony, kid-friendlier art style, but it still manages to have those dark vibes that the Zelda series is known for, while also having some bits of humor here and there. This was the first Zelda game I ever beat. Now, yes, technically, there are some faults, like during the last part of the game where you have to, get the Triforce shards, and you have to get maps for the Triforce shards, and you have to go get the Triforce shards as you go throughout the ocean or whatever. They fixed that in the Wii U version, which we will get to shortly, but yeah. But hey, if you never got to play the game on the GameCube, you can play the game on the GameCube emulator for Nintendo Switch 2. Unfortunately, we would have much rather gotten a port of the HD remaster for Wii U, since that improved a lot of the problems in this game. But nonetheless, I was able to beat this game both on GameCube and twice on the Wii U. So yeah, it's one of the Zelda games I played the most, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my all-time favorites. Okay, so I think that is it for the GameCube games. Now let's move on to the Wii games. Oh yeah. And I've been digging around. There was one game that I did have, but I could not find, and it was Kirby's Epic Yarn. That was the first game I ever beaten, so I just decided to bring that up because I know that I'm going to forget it once I talk about these other titles. But yeah, we're moving on to the other titles, starting off with Super Mario Bros. Wii. Played this a lot at my friend's house, and I wanted to get it myself. I never actually got around to beating it, and people say that this is one of the easier Mario games. I don't know, I guess I'm just more comfortable with... Oh, could you use the nunchuck in this? Because I see the nunchuck in the back, because usually you're supposed to hold the remote like this, but... I don't know, it says you could use the nunchuck, but... I don't know, but hey, it's still a fun game. Xenoblade Chronicles, the start of one of the most beloved Nintendo RPG franchises. This game was so well received in 2010 that eventually came to the Western area in 2012. And wouldn't you know it, it was so good that, it got ported to the 3DS, and later on, in a few years, the Switch. So yeah, even if you never got to play this on the Wii, there are other ways of playing it in modern time. Wii Sports. Every single Wii owner had Wii Sports. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It was pretty much how you do a tech demo right. Just bundle it in with your system without having to feel like it costs way too much, because it still costed $200, despite the fact that the game was in actually both games. I know I have Wii Sports Resort. Did I forget to add it? I don't know, but whatever. Nowadays, they want you to pay like $40 for 1-2 Switch for when it should be bundled in with the Switch, or that $10 game that nobody cared about for the Switch too. But hey, this game was a lot of fun. Compared to other Wii titles, it definitely doesn't hold up as much, but it's still a good game nonetheless. Even if the controls are a bit wonky, but nonetheless, it's what made the Wii so popular. But anyways, we are moving on with Toy Story 3, the video game. I played this a lot at my dad's house, and I never actually played like the main story. I played like the side story, where you can go into like the Woody's Roundup or whatever and just collect a bunch of things. There wasn't really an end goal to that. But I don't know. I just never played the actual story except for a few missions. Then I stopped. But hey, somehow this also got ported to modern console. Like you can play it on PS5. This was an alright game. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is probably the best way to play it because you do have to use motion controls a lot. But yeah, there are some, but it's still a pretty decent one. I mean, it's nothing too special when it comes to its platforming or its puzzles or all that. I haven't even finished the main story, and it's been so long. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But hey, for what it was, it's harmless fun. It's not nearly as good as the masterpiece that is the movie, but whatever. It is what it is. It's definitely one of the least crappy tie-in games. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I don't need to say anything else because it's Brawl, giving us one of the most unique, modes in any fighting game. The main story mode, which does have some issues, specifically with the last part. But hey, the fact that you can play with both the Wii Nunchuck plus the Wii bar of soap thing controller, as well as the GameCube controller, there was a lot to this game that it managed to add in to somewhat surpass Melee a little bit. I'm not saying this is better than Melee. I'm saying that, it does do some things better than Melee, but Melee definitely did a few things better than this as well. A lot of people like to hate on this game, which I don't really understand all that much. I mean, it's not perfect, but it had a much better soundtrack in my opinion, but all in all, I still really enjoy this one. I enjoy all the Smash Brothers games. Super Mario Galaxy 2. You cannot have a Wii without at least one of the Galaxy games, and I got Galaxy 2. I didn't own Galaxy 1, but hey, I do have spoiler alert, I do have 3D All-Stars. But I do want to get the Mario Galaxy 1 2-pack for Switch, since I don't really use my Wii anymore. I just mostly have these games because they're for the collection. Resident Evil Archives, which includes or is pretty much like a Wii version of the Resident Evil remake. Yeah, simple as that. I already talked about the Resident Evil remake, so don't need to bring it up again. One of the most mature themed Nintendo games out there, No More Heroes, which spawned a franchise of its own, eventually porting itself to more consoles, but yeah, it just feels so good playing this on a Nintendo console that pretty much has no limits. I mean, it was censored in other countries, but yeah, it had really unique boss fights. I never got around to finishing it, but I heard it was released for Switch, so one of these days I do want to give it another shot because, yeah, there was quite a bit of fun to be had, even though you're going to be swinging around your nunchuck. But that's really the point, making you feel like a badass where you hack and slash enemies. But yeah, back when Ubisoft was actually being creative and not just releasing the same thing over and over. GeForce, the game. This was given to me as a birthday gift from a friend, but it's not as bad as the movie. But I don't know. I never got around to finishing it, but yeah, because I'm not a fan of the movie, yeah. This was back when I liked the movie. I don't anymore. Shrek Forever After, pretty much like a puzzle game that kind of feels like Legend of Zelda a little bit, with some beat 'em up elements here and there. But yeah, I was because I wasn't too big into games. I just got games that were based off movies and stuff. Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles. Yes, more Resident Evil for Nintendo. This is pretty much like a rail shooter. This isn't the only one. There's also another game called The Dark Side Chronicles, but I believe you can play that on modern consoles as well. But yeah, this is a pretty fun one for a rail shooter. Mario Sports Mix, one of the most forgotten Mario games, believe it or not. One of the most forgotten Mario spin-off games. I mean, it's pretty much just Wii Sports if it had Mario in it, except full price. But I don't know, I played this all night one night, but if I was playing it today, it probably wouldn't have held up as well, but it is what it is. Also, you can play as your Mii, which they had really annoying voices, but what can you say? It's weird. And last but certainly not least, Skyward Sword, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. A lot of people like to give this game grief just due to its motion controls and the fact that Fi, the character that you have throughout your journey, is very annoying, but I've always found a unique charm to this game. I love the relationship that Link and Zelda have throughout this game. I love the puzzles. and the dungeons and the bosses. The controls are definitely hard to get used to from time to time, but not enough where I just gave up on the game, because I was able to beat the game. It is one of the more lengthy Zelda games, but in my opinion, probably the most underrated. And yeah, if you never got to play this, there is a version on the Switch. So yeah. And now we are moving on to the Wii U games. Again, in no particular order. Is there anything else? No, I guess not. Alright, starting off with Nintendo Land. Yeah, this was bundled up with the Wii U when I got it. Basically, like, if your Miis were playing specific Nintendo games just to show what the Wii U gamepad was capable of. But it really wasn't anything super special. It's just like I don't know. It often got forgotten. Splatoon. If you were to play this game, you'd just be playing the sequels for Nintendo Switch, since there's really no point in, playing the Wii U anymore, especially since the eShop closed down. And you pretty much can't play online anymore, as far as I'm aware. But with the fact that we got Splatoon 2 and 3 now, there's pretty much no reason to go back to this. But at the time when this came out, it was super fun. It was so much fun, despite the fact that it lacked content at first, but it managed to get better over time with free updates and just more new additions, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, we have this game to thank for one of the most bizarre Nintendo franchises in modern time. Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U. Hell yeah, I don't know what there is more to say. It's Smash Brothers for the Wii U. Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm actually going to talk about this more when I talk about the Switch version, which I also have. I was originally going to play this for Wii U, because I have it on Wii U since you couldn't play it on the Switch yet. But again, I got this before I found out my Wii U stopped working, but yeah, but whatever. I have it for Wii U, even though there's no point in me using it now. There's actually not a point in playing most of these, because almost all of them are on Switch now. Like this one, Super Mario 3D World, one of the most underrated Mario games in my opinion. Sure, a lot of people like to give it grief because it's one of the more easier Mario games, but that's not really a bad thing, because the thing is, because, there are modern kids that, want to get into the Mario franchise, this is definitely one of the, easier ones to get into. Like one of the first ones that, is worth playing, just so you're familiar with the formula and whatnot. But hey, it's still a lot of fun. I don't care if people say it's too easy, I still think it's fun. Super Mario Maker. Yep. A kid living his dream, creating his own Mario creations, torturing people online by making them way too challenging, but it was so much fun that it got a sequel for the Switch. So it's unfortunate that there's no reason to go back to this one, but hey, it was so unique. It was full of unique levels that I am usually really bad at designing levels, but it's nice to see other people design levels, and it was a lot of fun. Challenging and punishing, but it was still a lot of fun. And hey, if you missed out on it, definitely check out the sequel that adds in a hell of a lot more. Bayonetta 2. When people found out that Bayonetta was getting a sequel, except it would be a Wii U exclusive, people were confused at first, but hey, it was still a fantastic game. And yeah, it was so stylish. It was one of the most beautiful looking games on the Wii U, and it did not care that, the Wii U was aimed for a more kid-friendly audience. Like, it does not care. It's putting Bayonetta 2 for the Wii U and making it an exclusive, and hey, it still managed to pay off, as the franchise did get another game after that. Plus, most editions came bundled in with Bayonetta 1. Since, it didn't run super well on PS3. It did on Xbox 360, but hey, nonetheless, Bayonetta, all the games I think are absolutely worth playing. Yeah. It was my favorite Wii U game at the time until Breath of the Wild came out, which I don't have on Wii U, but hey. The Switch version, Wii U version, there's not really much of a difference. Hyrule Warriors. Basically, Nintendo's answer to Dynasty Warriors. The start of Nintendo's answer to Dynasty Warriors. Just have Legend of Zelda, but in the Dynasty Warriors world. I never got into Dynasty Warriors, or I never played Dynasty Warriors, but I do have a lot of fun with this one. It's one of my guilty pleasure games because I'm big into the Zelda franchise, and yeah, it is repetitive from time to time, but I still have fun with it from time to time. Okay, we are moving on to the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD and Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. It's a shame these versions of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker aren't on Switch yet. it's Zelda's 30th, 40th, whatever anniversary, and these are still, like, this game, the GameCube version of this is only on, the GameCube emulator thing or whatever, and we still don't have any word about Twilight Princess. Now, I'm just going to say this. This is going to be a very controversial opinion, okay? I love this game. I think this is a fantastic Zelda game, but it's far from the best Zelda game, in my opinion. There are so many flaws to this game that I cannot look past. Because, look, it's definitely fun to play as Wolf Link. Like, he is super cool, except you don't really use him in a way that feels unique. You go to another world, collect vessels or whatever, and that's pretty much it. Plus, occasionally fight once in a while. Also, there is a certain battle theme that I just could not stand. I was just shaking my head the entire time. It's during the beginning where it just goes no. Like, who suddenly composed this? So yeah. Also, it has probably the worst tutorial in any Zelda game. Not that it was frustrating, it was just a slog to get through. Also, there are often times where I felt like this game was just a little bit too long. Now look, despite all that, Midna is by far the best Zelda companion. It has a really unique story, and her arc is pretty much what makes this game work. Plus, the items that you get are so unique and so original for the franchise. It's just oftentimes I feel like it's trying to be like a darker version of Ocarina of Time. And the thing is, so many people say that this is the best Zelda game ever made. It's better than Ocarina of Time. It's better than Breath of the Wild. Some people even say that this is the last good Zelda game. Like, come on, Link Between Worlds was awesome, and like I don't know, it's one of those things where people just like to go back to the past and just say that, the new things are overrated and all that. But I've said this before, but this is going to be a very controversial take. Okay, everybody's going to want to beat me up for me saying this, but I'm not afraid to admit it. I like Skyward Sword a little bit more. I don't care. I have unpopular opinions too. I don't care. So look, amazing game. Great game, but there are so many Zelda games that I prefer. I still like Wind Waker more, even though, this game controversy before it was released and we had to wait for this 5 years later. I still enjoyed this more because it gave me more charm. It gave me more of that, it had more originality behind it, because oftentimes, well, look, I love the game. I do love the game. Bosses, great. Storyline, great. It's still a great Zelda game, just not in my top 5. So, yeah, I'm just stating right off the bat. It's not nearly as good as something like Majora's Mask or anything like that. I wouldn't really describe it as overrated, I just prefer other Zelda games. But, hey, I do love it. If it does come out for the Switch, I definitely want to buy it. So, yeah, I'll definitely get it. But anyways, Mario Kart 8. Yeah, at the time was the biggest Mario Kart game, adding in so much more tracks, and the fact that the Switch version. I know I'm always comparing this to the Switch version, but this was certainly a fun game, like a must-own for the Wii U, and truly one that will definitely ruin friendships. I mean, like almost every other Mario Kart game, but there's pretty much nothing else to say. It's Mario Kart 8. Yeah, fantastic. And last, but I wouldn't necessarily say least, but yeah, this is NES Remix Pack. I thought this was a compilation of like the older NES games, but it's pretty much like certain levels recreated in a different way. That's why I didn't really play it too much. I kind of forgotten about it, and yeah, I didn't really get into it. I guess I was expecting a lot more. So yeah, but anyways, we are moving on to the 3DS games now. Alright, the 3DS games I keep in a drawer underneath my bed. So yeah, let's get into them. Starting off with Adventure Time. Hey Ice King, why'd you steal our garbage? For a licensed game based off a cartoon, this one's actually not too bad. It is pretty short, and at first when I played it, I died like 30 minutes into the game, and I did not know how to save a game yet, because I was slowly getting into video games. But, I was big into Adventure Time. I'm still a fan of Adventure Time. I was able to beat the game 100% everything. It definitely has some similar vibes to Legend of Zelda, but, there are some creative things, to, have references to the show in terms of combat and whatnot. But yeah, in terms of Adventure Time video games, this is certainly one to play if you're a fan of the show. Fire Emblem Awakening, first game that got me into the Fire Emblem series. Never got around to finishing this one, but I do one of these days because last month I've been trying to get into 3DS games that I never got around to finishing, this being one of them. It is a difficult game, but I have it on casual difficulty. That way I won't have to worry about losing members permanently, so yeah. But for most of the time that I played, I do think it's fantastic. Gravity Falls, Legend of the Gnome Gemulets came out around the time where Gravity Falls was about to end. This is more on the lines of, being more of a game towards fans of the show, because oftentimes it's not really too memorable when it comes to its layout or level design, but for the graphics at least, it's pretty good. Like, it's not frustrating or anything like that, though I stopped playing after getting stuck on one boss, but again, I wasn't too big into games yet, so I didn't know entirely what to do, but nothing more to say. It's Gravity Falls. Two of the best handheld ports ever released, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, as well as Majora's Mask 3D. Some people say that this is a bad port, and I do not know where they are coming from. I think both ports are fantastic. I beat this port like multiple times. They are roughly the same game, just with some improvements, making the games a little bit more easier to get into, like the water temple, as well as, knowing exactly what you need to do from certain parts, tweaking the game out. That way it's easier for newcomers. So, yeah, they're still great games nonetheless. Legend of Zelda, A Link Between Worlds, like I mentioned earlier, probably my favorite handheld Zelda game of all time. I love Minish Cap. I actually never played the original version of Link's Awakening, so yeah, I never even played any of the DS ones. So yeah, but Link's Awakening is definitely a must-own for people who are fans of Link to the Past, because it's pretty much like a sequel to that, just with, different things going on, like, of course, morphing into a painting. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. A lot of people say that this is the weakest entry in the franchise. I honestly like it more than the first one. In fact, I think each Luigi's Mansion game gets better with each entry. This one I thought was a little bit easier for me to get into, and I didn't mind the fact that, you just went through the game by level rather than just continuing to explore the mansion, as it never really ruined anything for me. In fact, there were tweaks to the game that I definitely think made it a little bit more easier to get into than the GameCube one. I like the first game, but yeah, I was just having more fun with this one. And it does get a little bit challenging towards the end, but I had to finish this game because I had it for years. I know there's also the version for the Switch, but I already had this, so I just beat this one. So yeah, one of my favorite 3DS games, definitely worth playing. But hey, if you don't have a 3DS, you can check it out for the Switch. Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey. Plays only in 2D. Yeah, you can see this one's not out of the plastic, but apparently this bombed. Like, it was a good port from, as far as I'm aware, but nobody actually picked this one up. I guess this was during a time where, the 3DS was at its last year, but I don't know. I've had it for a while. I would say I would like to get into it soon, but I never got around to playing it. But yeah, Mario Kart 7. This I actually got recently, despite the fact that it's in bad condition, but I did play through all the tracks, and you can't really play online anymore, but I don't really mind. I enjoy playing by myself. But yeah, definitely one of the most fun entries in the Mario Kart franchise. The 3D graphics look absolutely phenomenal, and yeah, had a lot of fun with this one. Metroid: Samus Returns, a remake of Metroid 2, the Return of Samus or whatever. I actually never got around to finishing this one either, but yeah, this came out after the travesty that was Federation Force, because Nintendo knew they needed to bring the franchise back to life, so they did that with this game. And of course, they announced Metroid Prime 4, which surprisingly wasn't as good as this or Metroid Dread, but hey, I think the newer entries were still really good. This included. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, the first Monster Hunter game I got into. Can't really play this online with friends anymore because, the 3DS doesn't do that anymore, so there's probably no way of me beating this, but hey, it was still a really fun game, nonetheless. I could play it solo, but it just wouldn't feel the same. Persona Q2, I forgot how far I was in this game, but, I don't know, I never got around to finishing it because, while I do think it's a pretty fun game, and, it's a unique crossover of, other, Persona games, specifically Persona 5, 4, and 3, but I don't know, I just never got around to finishing it for some reason. And I'm saying something because I'm big into the Persona franchise. Pokemon Moon. Yeah, or Sun and Moon, but I just got Moon. It took me so long to beat this, because there were times where, during the last part of the game, I was not aware that, if you died from one of the masters, you go all the way back to fighting the first master, which did get on my nerves, so I had to constantly grind my Pokemon until they were strong enough to defeat them, and make sure I had enough healing items, so it was a bit stressful. Especially since, Pokemon is a game that anybody can get into because it isn't like the most difficult franchise ever. Especially since, there's experience share, which is something that the older games didn't have. But, yeah, Pokemon Moon. Super Mario 3D Land. I can't remember if was this the first 3DS game I owned? Because I got my first 3DS on my birthday of 2011, and this came out, I forgot when, a little closer towards the end, probably October, I don't know, but definitely one of the best Mario games to play for the 3DS. And last but not least, Super Smash Bros. For 3DS. Again, Smash Bros. For 3DS, it's pretty much like a watered down version of the Wii U version, but nonetheless, it's still a lot of fun in terms of, taking Smash Bros. On the go, before we got Smash Bros. Ultimate. So, yeah. And now, finally, the Switch and Switch 2 games, which is probably going to be the longest part, and the most that I have in terms of Nintendo games.
Okay, and before I move on to that, I do have a couple of games downloaded for the 3DS that will open up. Pokemon Blue, or Red and Blue, and Pokemon Gold and Silver, or just Gold. I got these before the eShop was taken down because I need to get into more of the older Pokemon games, since I've mostly been playing the older ones, or the newer ones, which a lot of people aren't a fan of. But I don't know how far I am into Pokemon Blue, but I don't want to play Gold until I finish Blue, which probably won't be anytime soon because I've been taking very long breaks. But yeah, it's good to have it, so. Yeah, because apparently the Gamecube emulator just refuses to add those in, but whatever. Oh yeah, also, I went over and I remembered that I looked over in my Tom and Jerry collection. I forgot I do have a few Tom and Jerry games, like this one for the Game Boy Advance, Tom and Jerry Tales. This game's not really all that good. Thankfully, there are cheat codes in order that allow you to skip, but I heard there is a DS version. I think there's a difference, but because it's also for Nintendo DS, but yeah. Oh yeah, and also this one for Game Boy. You see, I got it from Second and Charles. It was $17. Like, that's almost the price for Hollow Knight Silk Song. I couldn't even get past the first part, so yeah, but whatever. Now we're moving on to the Switch.
Alright, now we're on the main event, the most Nintendo games I have in terms of consoles. We're going to be looking at the physical games and, of course, the digital games. But yeah, we are starting off over here with Animal Crossing New Horizons. They just released a version for Nintendo Switch 2, which has been getting a mixed reception. Some people say that it ruined the game, but yeah, I actually haven't gone back to this game in quite some time, but it was the perfect game to play during the time when the pandemic started. Of course, this isn't a game where you can spend like hours a day into it. It's pretty much like play for a couple hours and play the next day, so it can be tedious at times, but nonetheless, this was the only Animal Crossing game that I've ever played, and I had such a fun time with it. I don't know if I would still enjoy it if I was playing today, but I don't know. But nonetheless, I still had a really fun time with this one, despite not being too big into Animal Crossing. And then we move on to one of the most overlooked Nintendo Switch Nintendo Switch games, Astral Chain. If you're a fan of games by Platinum, this is definitely one to check out. If you're a fan of games such as Bayonetta, this combines hack and slash and third-person shooting in a very fun way that makes it feel fresh. And it was all around such a fun game. There were multiple different quests you could do, and it's a shame that nobody really talked about this one. And it's a shame we're probably not going to get a sequel to this one because it just flew under the rug for a lot of people. But I do highly recommend it if you're a fan of games like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry and whatnot. Speaking of Bayonetta, Bayonetta 2 for Nintendo Switch. Of course, like I said before, they've just been porting so many games to the Wii that came from the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch, this being one of them. And yeah, I already talked about it. It also includes Bayonetta 1, though I got this used and they already used the code, so I had to download the game with my own money. But, yeah. And Bayonetta 3. Not as good as Bayonetta 2. In fact, this may be the weakest entry, but I still had a really fun time with it. A lot of people boycotted the game just due to the fact that they had to use a different voice actress, but nonetheless, Jennifer Hale, I thought, was still really good in the game, and it didn't ruin anything for me. Sure, the story still is nothing special. None of these games have strong stories whatsoever. Not even this one, and this is the best in my opinion. But I still really enjoy all three Bayonetta games. They're all worth checking out.
Oh yeah, and just before I forget, I also have Bluey the video game for Nintendo Switch, but it's only for the Bluey themed room. But yeah, I already got to play this on PS5. I got the Platinum Trophy for it. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this game, go check out my video on Bluey video games. Then yeah, I know there's another one coming out for consoles. It's already available on the Play Store and App Store, but I'm gonna wait till it comes out on console. But yeah, and my dad just came in the door, so yeah, just wanted to bring that up.
Collection of Mana. I actually haven't played this one, which includes Secret of Mana and Trials of Mana for the SNES. I know there's a remake to this, but I heard it wasn't really anything good. It also contains Final Fantasy Adventure, and it can be played with multiple different people, so yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, but I don't know why I haven't played this one yet, because I heard that, Secret of Mana is a classic game. That's why I mostly got this, but yeah, I don't know, because yeah, it's just weird why I never got to playing this. But if they can port this to Nintendo Switch, why not Chrono Trigger? Like, Chrono Trigger, I feel like needs it the most. But yeah. Dark Souls Remastered, the first Dark Souls game I ever managed to beat. There were times where I'd just been slacking off and just not really getting into the series all that much until I finally understood the mechanics more. And it took me like 60 hours, which is definitely way too long, because, I constantly was grinding and farming for experience until I finally was strong enough. But yeah, hey, for the Nintendo Switch 2, this was, or why do I keep saying Switch 2? For the Nintendo Switch, this is a pretty solid port, I must say. Speaking of really strong third-party games for Nintendo Switch, Diablo 3 Eternal Collection. Sure, this is one of the weaker entries in the Diablo series, but I still had a really fun time with this one. This includes all the Diablo 3 content, and surprisingly, this one runs really nicely at 60 FPS, which is something that the Nintendo Switch isn't really capable of, specifically with third-party support. But nonetheless, this is one of the best ports for the Nintendo Switch, surprisingly, and that's saying something because Blizzard hasn't been having the best track record recently. Alright, so then we move on to Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which just received an update making the game slightly better, as well as Tropical Freeze. Originally on Wii U, then got ported to Switch, but both games are a lot of fun. I think I might like Tropical Freeze a little bit more, not because, the port for this was nothing like really all that special, especially when it launched. I didn't play it at launch, but yeah, the fact is they added an update which enhanced the visuals and also added Dixie Kong for free. Compare that with Donkey Kong Bonanza, which has paid DLC, but hey, even though this game is relatively short, I mean, I haven't beaten it yet, but yeah, $60 is still asking for quite a bit, so it does, yeah, because I'm pretty sure that the 3DS port costed less than how much this costed, but I don't know, it's still a pretty fun port. I played a little bit at my friend's house, but didn't fully play it until most recently. Doom for Nintendo Switch. This is also a pretty decent port. Definitely not the best way to play the game, but for a game that runs at 30 FPS, it's still a lot of fun and can be great to play for people who, want to play the game on the go. I feel like this is the perfect, well, not the perfect port, but pretty much the best way you could play it because, of course, this is the 2016 Doom game. I think they ported Eternal as well, so chances are they're going to port the Dark Ages as well, but yeah, Doom. Such a fun game. And the third party continues with the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Ooh, there's, I don't need to say anything else. It's Skyrim. Skyrim. That's all you really need to know. But in terms of the port, it's a pretty good one. So, yeah. Fairy Tail, the video game. This is basically a turn-based RPG in the style of Final Fantasy. But, yeah. I am a fan of Fairy Tail, so I wanted to play this game. I never actually finished it, not because the game was hard or anything like that, but because it had the same story as in the anime, like taking like a different art once they, spoiler alert, once they reawaken after years and continue on with their journey and whatnot. It just, because I already knew the story, like when it comes to these anime game adaptations, they kind of just, take away from me wanting to continue to play on because I've seen this before, but I don't know. There is a sequel to this game. I'm not sure how that plays out, but I know there is the series did return for another different type of show, but it's called 100 Year Quest. I do want to check that out one of these days, but I don't know. As a fan, it's a decent game. I will say this though, it does not run well on Nintendo Switch. In fact, a lot of the time when I was playing for like 5 hours, it just started to slow down like crazy. It didn't crash or anything like that, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure that, the PS4 version is probably more stable. I don't know. If anyone played it, let me know in the comments. But, yeah. Fire Emblem Three Houses. Probably my favorite Fire Emblem game. The fact is that you have 3 classes or 3 houses to choose from, and it just adds in so much replayability. The characters are so deep, and the storyline is phenomenal, and the mechanics, the fact that it changes the formula, while still having familiarities to the formula that we all know and love from the tactical turn-based combat. The fact that it changes in making you feel like you're teaching your classmates how to become stronger, it really made for a much more unique time, and I feel like this is the perfect game to start off with if you want to get into the Fire Emblem series. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. I already talked about this when I talked about the Wii U games, but yeah, this includes all the DLC, so you do not have to worry about paying extra because, yeah, but again, I have a lot of fun with this game, so yeah. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I actually haven't opened this one because I rented it from Gamefly, or when I reviewed this game on my channel, but I wanted to get the full game, so yeah. I spent so many hours in this one and just wanted to do all the side stuff in it, so yeah, well, again, it doesn't run super stable, but I still had a lot of fun with it. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, probably the best Kirby game in quite some time. The fact that it jumped to 3D and just managed to have so much charm to it, having similarities to Mario Odyssey, which I feel like most modern games are tending to do in terms of 3D platformers, but still, nonetheless, it's definitely the best 3D Kirby game in my opinion. So, yeah, I can't actually remember if there were more 3D Kirby games because I'm not really aware of. It was usually just always 2D Kirby, but the fact that Kirby has his full 3D outing now, it just made for a much more fun experience. The fact that he finally got the 3D platformer that he truly deserved. Skyward Sword HD, I'm not actually sure how well this plays. I heard it's not like as good as the Wii version, but you can use the Pro controller for this one, but you can also use motion controls and button-only controls, so the fact that there are multiple different ways to play will definitely make people not as frustrated, but I don't know. Some people thought it was okay, but yeah, more people are hoping for, Twilight Princess HD or Wind Waker HD to be ported for Switch, which is definitely a much more higher demand, but I already mentioned before that I like this a little bit more than Twilight Princess, and I know a lot of you are probably stopping the video and coming over to my apartment to beat the living shit out of me because I said that twice now, but I do not care. Some people say I don't have unpopular opinions, though I haven't really heard anyone say that, but I do feel like I don't have too many unpopular opinions, but yeah, but anyways, Of course, you cannot have a Nintendo Switch without either one of these games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. People say that these games are overrated. People say these games are overhyped, that they're empty. The fact that Breath of the Wild did not deserve Game of the Year, I do not know where that came from, because to me, Breath of the Wild was a breath of fresh air. No pun intended. The fact that you can literally play the game you can do all the dungeons in any order you please, or you can fight the final boss immediately in just a few hours, which is definitely challenging, but it just made for a more free experience without having to, make the game feel like it's trying to get you to a certain limits. Same with Tears of the Kingdom. People say that it's just DLC. It's the same game, but with DLC added in. Again, I do not feel that way. I think these games are works of art, and so much talent was put into them. They add so much uniqueness when it comes to their combat styles. And hell, I do like the storylines as well as the introduction of new characters. I just feel like there was just so much effort put into these games, and they definitely managed to be worth the hype. And sure, people may say that they're tired of this Zelda formula and just want to go back to the classic roots of older games, but to me, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if people say that they're overrated. I will never feel that way. I still think they're two of the best Zelda games ever made. I enjoy them more than Twilight Princess. I enjoy them more than Link to the Past, surprisingly. And I even enjoy them more than Majora's Mask. So, yeah, I just love the sense of freedom, which is something that these games managed to bring in, just completely changing it up. That's why I still think these games are amazing. And spoiler alert, I do have the Switch 2 versions, which I am looking forward to playing as well. But, yeah, I don't care what anyone says. I still think they hold up to this day. Zelda Link's Awakening Remake. Definitely a little short for its $60 price tag, but then again, most Nintendo games are. But, nonetheless, if you never got to play the original game for Game Boy Advance, or not Game Boy Advance, the original Game Boy, or whatever, then, hey, this is definitely a great remake to, get you hooked on. So yeah, it might not be, on the same lines of many other Zelda games, but for a remake, it's really solid, and I do recommend playing it. The sequel, or somewhat of a sequel to it, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, I think is even better for a more original take on Zelda, especially since this is actually about Zelda. You play as Zelda rather than Link, and it adds in a bit more content too. This just manages to be exactly what the Zelda formula needed. A game that actually feels like, it's about Zelda. So yeah, it really made for a really fun time. Both games I definitely think are worth playing. Same sense as, of course, the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom games. Luigi's Mansion 3, probably my favorite Luigi's Mansion game, even though it takes place in a hotel. It's still a lot of fun. In terms of, changing up the formula with adding in Gooigi for its puzzles, and the fact that it's definitely the easiest out of the Luigi's Mansion games, but nonetheless, it's still a lot of fun, and one of the best games that the Switch had to offer in 2019. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, pretty much the only Mario Kart game that we had until Mario Kart World, but ever since that game came out, they just went back to this, especially since compared to the $80 price tag of Mario Kart World, while this has been adding in free updates, at least as long as you have Nintendo Switch Online, then, yeah, because, again, the Mario Kart World hasn't even been out for a year yet, so I'm still willing to give it some time, unless they do something that just completely ruins it fully and just, well, whatever. Mario Kart 8. I already talked about it for the Wii U, but yeah. Mario plus Rabbids, Kingdom Battle, and Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I surprisingly had so much fun with these games, which Mario and Rabbids seems like a really stupid idea, but it managed to be so much fun, especially since, the fact is that the Rabbids, isn't the most popular franchise ever known, but the fact that it really managed to work with crossing over with Nintendo's biggest icon, it really managed to be a fun time. I'm not too big into tactical games, but this is definitely a tactical franchise that I really had a fun time with. I just absolutely love the art style and the fact that this game manages to run better on Nintendo Switch 2 now, it just had so much charm. Like, yes, still some of the humor from the rabbits can be a bit annoying from time to time, but I feel like Sparks of Hope managed to do things a little bit better than this game managed to do. So I do not understand why this doesn't run at 60 FPS on Switch 2, but this does. Like, come on. It really needs to, whatever. Both games should fully have it. Metroid Dread. Wow. This game does not hold your hand whatsoever. The Emmys with how many times I died from them, it was just absolutely stressful. But I managed to beat it. If I didn't beat it, I wouldn't have reviewed it on my channel. But still, such a great game. I mean, this is truly what the franchise needed when it was lacking in what made the franchise great to begin with. I mean, Samus Returns was great, but this managed to crank things up by showing us what made Metroid great to begin with. So, yeah, I was stressed from time to time, but it did not stop me from wanting to complete it. I mean, I didn't fully complete it. I did beat the main story, but hey, Metroid Dread was absolutely phenomenal. Definitely. Metroid Prime Remastered. A lot of the time, we never thought that this game would manage to see the light of day. We just thought that, they were just going to leave it in the dust. We were hoping for the entire trilogy, but the fact that we got the first Metroid Prime game at all for Switch, it was so satisfying, especially since it runs at 60 FPS. There are different tweaks to gameplay, which made you either have the choice between playing classic or modern. That way newcomers to the Metroid Prime series can play this one. But yeah, it was so great to see, and I was so happy to play through this one on Nintendo Switch. And sure, it may be $40, but hey, $40, at least it's not full price. It would have been nice if they got the full trilogy, but there's still a possibility that they still might be able to port 2 and 3. Maybe not like in a full compilation pack, but I would just like if all 3 games came to Switch. Minecraft. Don't really know what more to say. It's Minecraft. Monster Hunter Rise. Probably my favorite Monster Hunter game. I don't know. I'm kind of split between Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise. But this game, like, it was so much fun. I had a really fun time with it. New Pokemon Snap. I am really surprised of how much fun I managed to have with this game, because the fact that all you do is take pictures of Pokemon, it actually had a lot more to that. The fact is that, Pokemon Snap was such a big deal for the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo 64 that they decided to make a new version of that. Yeah, it was cool to see, and I really had a fun time playing through this. Another game that we thought would never see the light of day for Mario console, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Sorry, I thought this was like reversible, but it just has the map inside. But yeah, I was hoping one of these days we would finally get this on modern hardware, because some people say because they just completely ignored what made Paper Mario so good to begin with, just lacking in the RPG elements. We all thought that this game would never reach the light of day, but lo and behold, it came, and it was amazing. So yeah, I'm so happy we got this one. I am so happy that I finally got to play it instead of just spending hundreds of dollars on the Gamecube version. It added so much in terms of, enhancing the visual style, as well as adding in better voices for the characters rather than just having the same voice. But yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I'm so glad I finally got to play through this one. Paper Mario: The Origami King. Yeah, this game's not too bad. I actually had quite a bit of fun. I would have liked if there were RPG elements, but there were some unique ways that it managed to have, like its puzzles and all that, despite the fact that throughout the game you're just mostly collecting toads and all that, even though it would have been nice if we had, like, better party members and whatnot. But nonetheless, still a pretty fun game. Pikmin 3 Deluxe and Pikmin 4. Pikmin 1 and 2 are also available for Nintendo Switch, so I may want to get those, especially after beating these. So yeah, I actually got this in 2020 and did not finish it until a couple weeks ago. I don't know why. I got a little nervous that the time limit sections would stress me out so much that I wouldn't be able to get Olimar back in a certain amount of time. Like, I felt like that was like because I don't know, because I was worried this is going to be like some Majora's Mask situation, because I think the first game had that, but hey, this game actually has a much more lower difficulty setting than the previous version of this. But yeah, I was happy that I got to play through this, and yeah, I had so much fun that I wasn't stressed out anymore. I got a lot of things accomplished and was able to finish the game. Pikmin 4. also having the same scenario as well. I just spent so much time in this game and had quite a bit of fun. So I do want to get the first 2 games eventually. Pokemon Legends Arceus. I heard the sequel was really lacking, especially since this game was very well received despite its poor graphics, but I had quite a bit of fun. It's basically Pokemon if it had like a Breath of the Wild setting. So yeah, but Game Freak hasn't been doing too well in terms of, its Pokemon releases, but I mean, with this game, I did have fun. So yeah, that's the important thing. As long as I had fun and I enjoyed my time through this game, then I feel like that's really what matters in terms of, my enjoyment overall. So yeah, I'm probably not going to get the sequel, ZA or whatever it's called, because again, $70, and I heard it's not nearly as good as Arceus. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, or just Pikachu. Just like some of the other games that I talked about, this game took me a while to beat, not because it was hard or anything, but oftentimes, I just feel like, in terms of this being a new Pokemon game, specifically like a remake of Red and Blue, like pretty much every single Pokemon game has been doing, it really isn't anything too special, but nonetheless, I still had fun, even if it isn't as replayable as many other Pokemon games. But hey, it's not bad for, a Pokemon game for the Switch. Definitely one of the better ones if you do want to play Pokemon for the Switch. Rayman Legends Definitive Edition. I really enjoy the Rayman series. It's a shame that Ubisoft has just been constantly doing Assassin's Creed over and over and over and over and over and just letting this game sink into the dust. And this was originally supposed to be a Wii U exclusive, but they decided to delay it. That way it will be ported to multiple systems. But yeah, this game was so much fun and actually includes levels from Rayman Origins. So yeah, you can play both versions on Nintendo Switch. So yeah, but I had so much fun with this one. It's a shame how, Rayman has just flown under the dust recently. But yeah, well, not recently. It's actually been quite some time. But yeah, Resident Evil Origins Collection, which includes Resident Evil Remake as well as Resident Evil 0. For some reason, Resident Evil only has the downloadable code, while they had the full game of Resident Evil 0 on the cartridge. I don't understand why both can't just be on the cartridge, since more games I have, like in terms of third-party games, can fit on a Nintendo Switch cartridge, but both of these games can't fit on the same cartridge. I do not understand that, but yeah, I need to play Resident Evil 0. I played through Resident Evil HD, but I should play more Resident Evil since the 9th game is coming out soon, so yeah. Rocket League. I didn't play too much of this. You can play this game for free now, but yeah, Rocket League. It is what it is. It's fun from time to time, just trying to get cars. Just, it's basically soccer with cars pretty much. It's very simple, nothing too major, but hey, it became very popular, so you gotta respect it for that. Shin Megami Tensei 5. This is a lot different than the Persona series, even though there is, it's from the same company, but it's far more challenging than any of the Persona games. I can't even get past the first stage because a lot of the time I thought this was going to have like the same difficulty and the same, RPG elements as Persona 5, but it's actually a lot more different than that. Like, I was not aware of how challenging Shin Megami Tensei could be, so yeah, I didn't go back to this one. That's why it just, like, I am tempted to go back to this, but I don't know, it's a little too much for me, so that's why I didn't really go back to it. Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, which includes all five of the Shovel Knight expansions, or 4 of the Shovel Knight, well, whatever, it includes the original Shovel Knight as well as the expansions and whatnot. I've only played the base game. Haven't finished it yet because it is very challenging, but it's still a lot of fun. Like, you definitely need to play this if you're a fan of retro gaming, like in terms of, modern retro style games. It's definitely one of the very best and one of the most iconic. Sonic Colors Ultimate. If you missed out on the Wii version, then you can play this on modern systems. So yeah, and I did have a fun time with it. Sonic Mania. I also had quite a bit of fun with this one, even though I never finished it, because while this is a breath of fresh air for the Sonic series, the thing that I don't like is that when you lose all your lives in specific worlds, you have to go all the way back to the first level. which I do not understand at all, because this is modern time. Like, Sonic games, like, this game does not have a live system. No Sonic game has a live system anymore. Not even the Sonic Origins collection, which has, a version where you can just remove the lives altogether. That way you won't have to worry about getting a game over. So I don't understand why this version doesn't have that. So that's why I do want to go back to this game, but I'm just afraid of, just losing all my progress and going all the way back. So I just got to find, like, a specific, like, live system I can try doing, because I would just hate to have to be almost done with the world and going back. That's like, I do not understand that at all. Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3. Take your pick, because both of them are almost the same, except Salmon Run, you can play this, like, at any time you want, while this version you can only play at a certain time, but, still, nonetheless, both games are still so addicting, like, so much. I never knew how much fun it could be to just squirt ink all over the walls, but Nintendo really managed to get it right. Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. It's Street Fighter, which includes Street Fighter, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter, all of the versions of Street Fighter 2, plus Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter 3, New Generation, yada yada yada. Yeah. Super Mario 3D All-Stars, only available for a limited time until it eventually got removed from all storefronts, and yeah. Once Super Mario Sunshine comes out for the Gamecube emulator, there's pretty much no reason to get this compilation. So yeah, especially since Mario 64, as far as I'm aware, is on Nintendo Switch Online. And Mario Galaxy you can get with the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 collection, even though you are paying for a little bit more. But oftentimes, I mostly got this for Mario Sunshine and Galaxy, but Sunshine doesn't really control too well in this game, unfortunately. But, it's not a bad port. It's still very much playable. It's just, just feels more like emulation than actual full remaster, unfortunately. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury might be relatively short, but, for full price, I still think it's somewhat worth it. Even though, again, it is asking for a little too much, but there's still more content after you do beat the story for Mario 3D World, so there is that as well. I still feel like this is still the best way to play Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, taking Mario back to its 2D roots, rather than just feeling like another version of New Super Mario Bros. It managed to add in so much more with new power-ups and new wacky worlds to explore, and just, it just takes us back to a day where it was all about 2D platforming. Like, this game, it was so much fun. Really enjoyed it a lot. Super Mario Maker 2, pretty much like an expanded version of Super Mario Maker 1, with a new story mode and so many more customization options for levels and whatnot. So much fun. Super Mario Odyssey. This was the second Nintendo Switch game that I got, because this game came out in October. I got the game in November. And the thing is, I did not get another Nintendo Switch game being this one until, because at the time, I got my Nintendo Switch in April, and Breath of the Wild was the only game that I got for the system, and that was the only game I played until this game came out, which was like 7 months. So yeah, it goes to show how much fun I had with Breath of the Wild. I did not care that I waited till another game came out, or until, the new major game came out, because games like ARMS were just like the appetizer, but games like Breath of the Wild were like the main course, and then this game came around. So yeah, but probably my favorite 3D Mario game. It just had so much going for it, and I hope the next 3D Mario game will be amazing, just as amazing as that. Super Mario RPG, a remaster of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. If you missed out on that from Nintendo, Super Nintendo, then definitely play this version. You will not be disappointed. Super Meat Boy, one of the hardest 2D platformers ever made, but oh man, is it so much fun. It honestly doesn't matter if you die or not, because oftentimes it can be fun to die, just to see all the amount of failures you did, and it was just... Yeah, it was just wild, like, holy shit. But yeah, I'm probably never gonna beat this game, especially since there's like 200 levels, and it can be an absolute chore to get through. But hey, levels are short, so there is possibilities of beating them, even if it does take a while to fully it's just, yeah, it's all about trial and error for this one. One Nintendo Switch game you definitely cannot live without: Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Ultimate is definitely the word to describe this game. Now, yes, people like to hate on this game because of the amount of people complaining about characters not being in Smash, like, the fan base and all that, but I do not care about the fan base. All I care about is the game. And the game is so much fun, I do not care about what people say. I just want to have a fun time with a game. And I feel like that's the one thing that people just forgot. What makes a game fun is it being fun. What makes a game good? I mean, sure, games with deep storylines don't always mean fun, like games like Telltale's Walking Dead. But games that are just flat out fun, this game managed to deliver. And it's pretty much like the best way to play Smash Brothers. And we're probably not going to get like a Smash Brothers game to top this. There probably might not even be another Smash Brothers game. Like, I hope we do, but imagine what they can do to top this one. But, I mean, a lot of people weren't pleased with the new Mario Kart, so yeah, I am a little bit nervous, but hey, there hasn't been any news about that yet. But hey, nonetheless, Smash Bros. Ultimate, I had so much fun with this one. So yeah, nonetheless, it's still absolutely worth playing if you're looking for the one Nintendo Switch game to play. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunts. This game is massive. It has all the DLC packs on one cartridge, and I do not understand why games like Resident Evil have to, only have one game in the cartridge and have the other one be free, because this is one of the biggest games ever made and one of my all-time favorites. Of course, I have the Witcher 3 poster right up there, but the fact that this can even run on Nintendo Switch is unbelievable. I mean, I beat the entire game on Nintendo Switch, and while, of course, the graphics aren't, like, spectacular or anything like that, it is still very much playable. And there have been rumors that we may actually get another DLC for this game, and I don't know, we're already getting The Witcher 4, but yeah, but still, nonetheless, Witcher 3, like, you can play it on any piece of hardware and it will still be amazing. Like, you can play it on PS5 as well. I do want to get the PS5 version. But yeah, I played this game so much and it just never gets old. It never gets boring. It never gets repetitive. I love it even more the more that I play it. Alright, last of the Nintendo Switch games. Xenoblade Chronicles, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I already talked about Xenoblade Chronicles. Don't really know if there is more to say. I just beat Xenoblade Chronicles X. Oftentimes this game can annoy me because a lot of the characters weren't really all that memorable. The tutorial probably is the worst out of all of them. And a lot of the time it can be very grindy. Like certain missions, like you get locked out of certain missions if you don't do like the mission that you're doing first, and it can be very annoying. You can't even do certain missions unless you explore certain parts of the world, like in terms of the things you gotta do during each world, and it can be absolutely annoying from time to time. And it doesn't help that there is no difficulty option like the other games do. You just have to rely on grinding. I mean, sure, if you get stuck on a certain boss, then the game gives you the option to lower the difficulty, but I don't understand why couldn't they just have that from the very beginning, but I don't know. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, many people say it's the worst one. I think X is the worst one, but I still think it's a good game. And I really like the characters in the second game, so yeah. Well, sure, there are times where the mechanics can be a little bit tedious, and yeah, but nonetheless, I enjoy the game. I don't care what anyone says. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I think, is the best out of the sequels, and yeah, this is one of my favorite Nintendo franchises of all time. So yeah, all games I do generally enjoy. Okay, last but certainly not least, we are going to get into the Nintendo Switch 2 games. I don't have a whole lot, but yeah, because the Nintendo Switch 2 is still relatively new, there's no surprise I don't have too many. We're starting off with Cyberpunk 2077. I know what you're thinking. How the hell can this play on a Nintendo console? It couldn't even run on last-gen consoles. Well, I did go and play this version. It's pretty damn good on Nintendo Switch 2. And let me tell you right off the bat, okay? When this game launched, of course, it was infamous for having one of the most notoriously bad launches in any modern game ever. The fact that there was so much hype surrounding it, that the best way to play it was PC, but even then, the game still functioned very poorly. But hey, it does not have the crappy textures that last-gen consoles had, and this game can run at a stable frame rate if you have the right TV for it. Even in handheld, it can run pretty stable. Not all the time, but it's the closest thing there is to a stable game, or a stable frame rate for this game on a Nintendo console. Like, this definitely wouldn't play well on the regular Switch, but for Nintendo Switch 2, it's actually not too bad. And plus, it includes the Phantom Liberty DLC, which I'm currently trying to get into, but I just wanted to take my time with this one after beating it the first time. And also, this is not a key card. I'll get more into key cards later, but this is the full game on the cartridge. See, if it said key card under here, it would be a key card. But it's not a key card. So yeah, it just goes to show why key cards are pointless. I'll explain more later on in case you aren't aware about key cards. Donkey Kong Bonanza. Already reviewed this game, and man, Kirby was definitely a breath of fresh air for 3D Kirby games, and this is definitely a breath of fresh air for 3D Donkey Kong games, especially since this was from the makers of Mario Odyssey. And who knew that collecting bananas would be this much fun? I mean, holy shit! It was so much fun going through this game. I haven't played the DLC, but I heard it was nothing special. But all I really need is the base game because it has so much content that I just did not want to explore more until I got all the bananas in each world, which is difficult, but it's still so much fun. Not as challenging as some of the older ones, but nonetheless, it's still a great game. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. If you enjoyed Age of Calamity, then definitely play through this one, even if there isn't a whole lot of answers to Tears of the Kingdom, but nonetheless, it may be repetitive, but it's a fun time waster nonetheless. Kirby Air Riders. Definitely not worth the $70 because, yeah, the campaign's really short, and there isn't really a whole lot of modes when it comes to actual racing. This is basically like a racing version of, Smash Brothers, but granted, this is a game by Sakurai, so it would only make sense. It only took me like 2 hours and 10 minutes total to beat the main story, but, yeah, I actually haven't played any of the other modes, but I wanted to take a break after being the main story. But yeah, as it stands, it's a fun game. Yeah, it just depends what you're in for. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. No, I did not pay for these. These were Christmas gifts, so I'm not really complaining too much about the price since I sort of got them for free. But again, they were Christmas gifts, but I don't care, knowing the fact that both of these games managed to run at a stable frame rate. I mean, granted, I haven't played them yet, but I do want to play through them. And as far as I know, this has all the DLC to it, Breath of the Wild, and I am looking forward to playing through them again, because one of these days, I want to try 100%ing all of them, because, man, they're so much fun. Mario Kart World. No, this game is not bad. It is not a bad game whatsoever. It's just very lacking in content, making it not worth its $80 price tag. Like, it really needs more modes. There needs to be more tracks added, which, again, this is just a start. Hopefully the game will get better over time, because the game really needs it. It really needs more modes to make it fully worth it. It'll probably never be worth the $80, but nonetheless, it's still not a bad game. Don't care what anyone says. I still think it's a fun game. Like, the racing is still fun, just not as good as most people were hoping for. Like, to really make it worth it. But yeah, don't really need to go on forever. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We thought this game would never come out, but the fact that it finally did manage to come out, it was exciting. Unfortunately, it is the weakest entry in the Metroid Prime series, especially with how empty the world feels, but it's not a bad game. Just one that was kind of disappointing. I was hoping that this would be like the main Nintendo Switch 2 game, but unfortunately that honor went to Donkey Kong. But nonetheless, it's a good game, just not nearly as good as I was hoping for. But still, I did enjoy it. And last but not least, we got Sonic plus Shadow Generations. Yeah, I beaten the main story for Sonic Generations. Now I'm currently playing Sonic or Shadow Generations. For some reason, Sonic Generations runs at 60 FPS while Shadow Generations only runs at 30. I do not understand that.
And now we can talk about the game key cards, because the key cards make absolutely no sense. Okay, so this may look like a game cartridge, but it's not. It's basically like, access to actually playing the digital version of the game. So you don't actually own like a physical version. It just gives you like permission to access the downloaded digital version. It makes absolutely no sense, especially since a game like this could fit on a Nintendo Switch cartridge. Because let me remind you, this entire game can fit on a cartridge. Under there, no key card. If it says key card, that means it's a key card, but it does not say key card. This says key card. Key card, full game. Key card, full game. Key card, full game. Key card, full game. Key card, full... Why? I know I'm kind of going on an over-the-top rant here, but there's no point in having key cards. This is probably the only key card I'm ever going to own, but again, full game. Key card. It makes no sense. I don't know. Nintendo's weird, but we still buy it anyway, even though sales for Nintendo Switch 2 haven't been doing so well. But it's Nintendo. It's not like, they're not going to make games anymore. But yeah, okay, that is it for the physical games, or 99% of them are physical anyway, but now we're moving on to the digital games.
Alright, we're moving on to the digital games, starting off with Switch 1. If I skip a game, it's not because I didn't like the game, it's because I don't actually own the physical version, I just rented them. But yeah, Fortnite. Never got into it. Sorry. I know it's been so massive, but I just wasn't really a fan. Tetris 99. I don't think you can play this game anymore, so... yeah. Stardew Valley. Really fun one. Fun little time waster, but yeah, it was just... I never knew how much fun I would have with the farming simulator, and those aren't really my thing too much. For example, in terms of, games I'm skipping, like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, I don't have the actual physical version. I rented this from GameFly. So yeah, I'm just using that as example for games that I am skipping in this. Celeste, oh my god, one of my favorites indie games ever made. This game just really spoke to me despite its challenge, but hey, with assist features, you can literally... like, anybody can pick up and play this game. A lot of people say easy modes ruin the game, but when you actually do have easy modes, it makes it easier for more people to want to get into, rather than just, punishing them to absolutely no end. So, yeah, the story, the characters, it's amazing. You have to play this once in your life. Cadence of Hyrule, pretty much like a crossover between Crypto the Necrodancer plus Legend of Zelda. Yeah, I never played Crypto the Necrodancer, but I did play through this, and such a fun game, because anything with Zelda on it, I am bound to want to play. Bayonetta 1. Yeah, Bayonetta 1. Deltarune Chapters 1 and 2. I already have my application ported to Nintendo Switch 2, which we will see later on. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, not really the best way to play the game, but in terms of playing it on modern hardware, this is the closest thing we got. Oh, poor Funimation. Rest in peace. Hades, another fantastic indie game that everybody needs to play at least once in their life. Nobody Saves the World, another really underrated indie game. I actually haven't gone back to this one in quite some time, and I don't know why, because I was really addicted to it. Game Boy Advance, Nintendo Switch Online, Sega Genesis, Nintendo Switch Online. They kind of abandoned this one because they haven't really done too many updates for this one, as far as I'm aware of, anyway. Nintendo 64, Nintendo Classics, Nintendo Switch Online. Portal Companion Collection, which includes Portal 1 and Portal 2. I am really surprised of how well these games run on Nintendo Switch. Most people don't even bring up that these games are available to play on Nintendo Switch, but hey, everybody needs to play these games at least once in their lives. I never get tired of revisiting these games. They're absolutely incredible. You have to play them at least once. Undertale, I'm currently working on the genocide route, though I haven't gone back to it in 2 years because I'm still stuck at the Sans fight. And I'm probably... yeah, it's gotten to a point where I just prefer playing the pacifist route. Hollow Knight, fantastic game, don't know what there is else to say. Game Boy, Nintendo Switch Online, Super Nintendo, Nintendo Switch Online. I transported my data to Nintendo Switch 2. Crunchyroll, NES Classics. I don't really need to show the library of Nintendo Switch Online games because, anybody that owns these has all the games as well. So yeah, anyways, moving on to Nintendo Switch 2, which I think... No, I have more than one game on there.
Oh yeah, and Cuphead. I can't believe I almost forgot Cuphead. God, it was so satisfying when I finally managed to beat that, along with its DLC.
And finally, Nintendo Switch 2 Online. Deltarune. Absolutely love this one. Definitely cannot wait for the next chapter. And Hades 2. If you loved Hades 1, you definitely need to play Hades 2. And last but not least, the GameCube Online Nintendo Switch thing. They definitely need to add more games because they've just been slowly adding in games. Eventually we're going to get Mario Sunshine, hopefully when the new Mario Galaxy movie comes out. Hopefully, but yeah, those are the only two digital games I have for Nintendo Switch 2. And that is it for my Nintendo games collection. I know I don't really have a whole lot in terms of older games, but again, retro gaming can be very expensive nowadays. But yeah, despite all the controversies Nintendo has been having, despite the fact that, you know, they have been struggling a lot in terms of pleasing their fans, especially with how overpriced a lot of their games are nowadays, but I'm always going to be a fan. I'm always going to continue to play their games unless, you know, they do something so horrible that will make me not want to play them anymore. But hey, even if Nintendo as a company isn't exactly beloved by everybody as much, their games I'll still always play. Mario, Zelda, they are very beloved and they're very special to me, and I'll always continue to play them. So I'll always be a Nintendo fan, even if it can be hard being one. But I don't really like to talk about all the controversy and stuff. I'll just leave that to the big YouTubers. And yeah, we'll just see what Nintendo has to offer this year. Hopefully, they'll manage to bring in more. Like, I'm just going to keep my expectations low because chances are they're not going to go back to $60 games. I hope. There's a part of me that makes me wish they would, but whatever. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and maybe subscribe for more. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or maybe Blue Sky. Links are in the description. And I'll see you guys later. Ward out.